just got shot down the block. Yeah, I heard the sound of shots. A young black man trying to avoid the ops. Yeah, and make this music pop. The other day a homeless man said I look like Pop. Yeah, when I was on the train, thinking to myself, this could go all the way in a second. Yeah, flexing on the gram, man, I swear to God I'm over that. And if you truly poppin', you ain't gotta say you poppin' like a soda can. Shorty, why you acting like a goody two-shoes when you know you bad? Yeah, I'm Wesley Snipes with the blade, killing snakes when I mow the grass. And if you ain't day one, don't approach me with an open hand. Sucker. And ever since I was 18, I wanted to hold a Grammy flag. Yeah, I put my life in this grind, I'm committed. And people think I'm crazy and I should be committed to a psych ward. Cause it's a lifestyle that I would live and die for. She won't
that you live on the gram, as hollow as the tires on the plane that you land. Think of fairy tale stories that bearing in real life. Wonder why that suitor never chose you as his wife. If you wanna get flipped, I'll show you the most.
Hello everyone. How's everyone doing today? Just gonna double check that the stream's working proper on all the different channels real quick, and then we'll go on and get right into it. We are good to go. So hello everyone, thank you for joining me again on another episode of the DA Perspective. So for those who don't know, I'm willing to share the information. Today is my day of birth, and today I'm 35 years old, and I wanted to do something different today. I kind of just wanted to share a little bit of the things that I've learned for myself that I have shared with others, you know, in person, during, you know, conversations, or even in small groups of people when we're just kind of talking about life and living and all, you know, just reality in general. So I wanted to take the liberty today and to be a bit selfish, I would say, to use this day, knowing that I have a lot of attention today. I wanted to say these things in hopes that it would fall on the right ears, right? So yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who has wished me happy birthday. The messages that I've received today, regardless of how they got to me, I appreciate them. And my little sister is calling me right now. Yeah, sorry, little sister. But yeah, I appreciate all the messages that everybody sent to me today. It does mean a lot. I know that especially now, it's crazy because we're so connected, yet we're so disconnected at the same time, right? Having the ability to contact people that you know and love from all across the world at a moment's notice, that's a new thing. That's a new phenomenon for humanity. And so I think that we're still all trying to come to terms with how best to utilize that. And I know that emotionally, it kind of can create problems for some people because, you know, you send messages that you know are received, and maybe, you know, you didn't receive a return message in a timely manner, right, in your eyes, or you don't, you know, there's a whole host of issues with how we communicate now, right? Sometimes it's a little much, like it's a lot, you know, especially for some people that are working on 1,000 different things, and it does become a lot to juggle. So I guess in terms of the communication aspect, again, I appreciate everybody's messages, and I just hope that in spite of you and I not speaking on a constant basis throughout the months or year or whatever preceding me saying this, know that you are someone special to me, and that you are someone who I do remember and I do think of, you know, from time to time. For instance, my personal Facebook, there's about 1,000 people on there, and I can honestly say that about 95% of those people I have actually met in person, and I know who they are, and I can more than likely remember where we met. Sometimes you meet people out when you're running around at the bar and stuff, and you don't remember that, but I do. I made it a point to keep around me the people that I, you know, not just to have everyone around, but to have, good people and people that I give a shit about, and people I have a genuine love for. So, in any sense too, even with doing this show, I'm starting to meet new people through the DA perspective, and these people in the same manner I'm beginning to build relationships with, and I appreciate their feedback with what I'm doing here with this video thing, and the things that I'm trying to produce, and the messages that I'm trying to spread. And so all in all, again, I appreciate all the birthday wishes. I appreciate everyone taking their time to just give me some of their time, because I know time on earth is very precious, and it's finite, and we got to choose wisely with who we spend our time with. So there's that. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about 6 things real quick, and I'll be honest with you. When I woke up today, I didn't know if I was going to stream today because it is my birthday, and I didn't know if I don't know if I wanted to or not, and the more I thought about it, I said, you know what, I'm going to take this opportunity, and I'm going to share with people a couple of things that I've learned for myself that work for me and have enabled me to kind of make it to 35 in the mental state that I am. And I do want to also talk about mental health a little bit right here, right now, in the sense that it is important. And I don't think that it's a sign of weakness to admit that you're human. And we are all human, and we all are mental in some capacity. And so when you're going about your day, be mindful of that for yourself and for others. And I too continuously have to try to remember that, and control my emotion and my mental state, and just try to continuously work on being in a good headspace so that I can be in a good physical space and emotional space, and just everything around, professional space. Like, everything ties into, for me at least, my personal mental state. So I guess I want to share with you that if whatever you feel about that, don't feel like you can't feel that way, right? In the sense that mental health is really important. I think that I wish that was something we talked more about. So I'm hoping going on in the future, I'm going to talk more about that as well. I'd like to try to get people to come on the show and talk, who are mental health professionals and stuff like that, and can maybe talk a little bit more about that. Okay, so let's just start it off. Roller coasters. Okay, so I also have a hard time with things that I don't like, or things that I don't want to do. And one of the things that I kind of figured out as far as an analogy was a roller coaster. And there's a very specific time in my life with my uncle, and we were in South Padre Island, Texas, and I couldn't jump. It was bungee jumping. I got all the way to the top, and I'm acrophobic, which means I'm scared of heights, and I think I traced it back to a childhood traumatic experience at Natural Bridge Caverns in Texas. We were on a field trip, and I looked down and I started freaking out. And instead of me having a moment to kind of I guess come to a place of ease, the teacher or whoever kind of drug me along throughout the duration of the tour or whatever. And I think it just kind of just set me off in a weird place. I've never really been able to shake that, even though I did also go skydiving over South Padre Island. And I couldn't wait to kick open that door. It was so much fun. It was one of the best experiences of my life. And I think for that, though, it was the safety of being tied to another person, in tandem skydiving. And I think there was an element of safety to that made me feel a little more secure about the whole idea. But to roller coasters, so I know that there's a lot of things that people don't want to do in their life, and often it's getting on a roller coaster. But there's 2 things that happen on a roller coaster, and we know what these 2 things are, right? You either live on, right? You get on and then you get off and you live, or you die on a roller coaster, right? And for me, the idea of being on a roller coaster is putting yourself in an uncomfortable space that you no longer control, right? Once you get on a roller coaster and you're strapped in, you are powerless. You're literally at the mercy of what you put yourself into, right? And it's not to say that, you still don't have some control over Do you put your hands up and do you yell? Like, I'm not going that deep into it, but it's the idea that there's things that we don't want to do in our lives that cause us some anxiety for the risk involved or whatever the case may be. And I've learned to think of it as a roller coaster. You know, I'm either going to die on this thing or I'm going to live. And we know that you're going to live, and let me tell you why. So I pulled up a couple stats. So your chances of getting injured on a roller coaster are 1 in 24 million. And your chances of getting killed on a roller coaster are 1 in 750 million. Okay? Those are just arbitrary numbers until I put it up next to other things, right? How many of you all have played the lottery? Okay? You have a 1 in 2.9 million chance of winning the lottery. So 1 in 2.9 million, you have a way better chance of winning the lottery than dying on a roller coaster, right? So put that into perspective. You know what I mean? You're not going to die on a roller coaster. So when you're faced with things in your life that you're apprehensive about and you're unsure, should I do this? Obviously make an educated decision and make the best decision for yourself. But I guess the reason why I'm telling you this is you need to take some chances, and you need to put yourself in positions that are incredibly uncomfortable, because I promise you, you're going to come out stronger on the end. You may not like the roller coaster, but at least you tried it. At least you went on there and you said, you know what? I did this thing. I didn't want to do it. I did it. I'm alive. I got it all. 10 fingers, 10 toes. If that's what you started with when you went on, right? And then you'll feel better. You know, I think you'll feel a sense of accomplishment, and even if it's not even accomplishment, even if it's you have a traumatic experience that is a roller coaster that you don't want to go on, right? And going through it so that you can figure it out and handle it. I think at the end, when you realize you're still alive, ideally you'll feel a lot better about it. So that has helped for me. So that goes right into Diablos. So I conceptualized this idea of Diablos with having a conversation with someone a couple years ago. The reality is we all have them. And here's what I mean by that. You know, we all have these things in our lives that we're trying to do. We're trying to get from point A to point B, right? And it's like a curve or a line, whatever you want it to be. Whether point A to point B is a project or point A to point B is literally just from birth to death. There's multiple point A's to point B's in your life, right? There's things that you're always trying to do. And I understand that for a lot of people, I've yet to meet one person in my entire life who has never had a negative experience in life, right? Meaning we all know what it's like to be thrown off course, right? We're on a mission, we're doing this thing, and then a Diablo comes out of left field and knocks you off course, right? So what I was talking to this person about at the time when I was kind of like figuring out how to explain to them what I was trying to explain was like, you're gonna have Diablos. We all have them. The difference is how you handle it, right? I personally feel the best way is to dance in the street with the devil, right? Because otherwise that's just gonna terrorize you. So when these Diablos come, you got two choices. You can either let the Diablo knock you off course and just fuck up everything you're trying to do, or you can dance with that motherfucker in the street, right? Let him know, hey, I know you're here. I know you're powerful. I know what you want to do. But I'm not going to let that happen, right? I'm going to deal with you when you come, and then I'm going to put you in the corner over there, and you're going to stay there because I'm putting you there. And he's going to try to come back out, and he's going to try to come and knock you off course again. And then you know what? Another one's going to come from another place, and that one's going to do the same thing to you. So for me, it's the idea that I cannot defeat Diablos, but I can continuously suppress them as they come. Meaning, you're never going to get rid of these problems that we all have. I'm never going to get rid of all the problems that I have. But I am going to be able to deal with them in a way that allows me to live a comfortable life. More comfortable life, you know? So, figure out where your Diablos are and dance with them. Give them your time, because they're trying to take everything from you. So give it to them on your terms and figure it out. Whether it's a bad relationship, a traumatic experience, something at work. Maybe it's even just, your car breaks down, like that, anything that knocks you off course and makes you feel like, fuck, every time I'm working towards something, something comes and knocks me down. That's a Diablo, but you can control it. You can face it head on when it comes, and you can put it in that corner, and it's there, and it's not going to go away. But at least it's over there, and at least now you know what it looks like when it rears its ugly head. So I want to transition from that, and I want to talk about privilege. And I'll be honest with you. Look, I'm not the most well versed on privilege in like, I guess, the academic sense, right? And I'll be honest with you. The first time that I ever really heard and understood privilege was when I went to DePaul and I was taught about it. And I know that, like, often it's always like framed like white privilege, and yeah, that's a real thing. But I want to talk about overall privilege. I want to take the color outside of it. I want to take the color off of it, rather, for what I'm trying to say. We all have some form of privilege. And I've been in places of the world where people had like the closest to zero amounts of privilege. And I think it's really important for us to understand our position in the world and our positions of power, right? I say this often because it really matters. In America, we shit in clean water. And I am not saying that to like wash away all the problems and the fucking just the systemic bullshit that's here. That's not what I'm doing. But I'm trying to put into context how much actual power and privilege you may have that you may not understand you possess. And the reason why I want you to understand that is so you can leverage it to fix all this shit. I think that's part of my problem for the longest time, was I didn't understand what my privilege was. Because privilege to me, and if I'm wrong, correct me, to me privilege translates into some form of power. And so if you find yourself to be privileged in any sense, understand what the limitations of your power are and exert that power for the betterment of humanity. There's a lot of people who do not understand that even what you may perceive to be a menial or a, lower, place of privilege, like you may not feel like that matters or there's any power that coincides with that, but there is, and whether you live in an affluent area of the world, whether you live in a non-affluent part of our country, whether you were born as a man, whether you were born with white skin, whatever the origins of your privilege is, I implore you to understand what it is, why it exists. Even if you don't want to acknowledge that it exists, it does. It just does. So figure out how to use that for the betterment of humanity. Because I'll be honest with you, I was having this conversation with someone the other day. We were talking about this. And the reason why now, for me at least, I don't see it the way that others see it. Like, I don't accept some of the things that like everyone wants to fight for, like certain capitalist principles and all that shit. The reason why I can't like even entertain the idea anymore is because the same problems that were in place before I was born are still here today, and they haven't changed much. Nothing has changed. And that whole, the thing that they attribute to Einstein, where doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, that's the definition of insanity. I don't know if he fucking said it or not, but that shit makes total sense to me, because it does define insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is fucking insane. And that's what we've been doing for far too long. We expect that people with privilege are going to help those who are less privileged out of the goodness of their heart. It doesn't work that way. Because they don't even understand what their privilege is in the first place. Nor do they understand their power. You know, I was having a conversation and someone was saying, well, everyone's entitled to make as much money as they want and take care of their family and all that, you know? And I said, yes, but. If that comes, yes, but, meaning the but part is, if that comes at the detriment of others, then I don't believe that that should be the case. You should not be able to benefit and live the most fruitful life and have all this power and privilege when everyone else is suffering and hurting. That's not conducive to humanity being like peaceful together. It creates a divide. It creates angst. It creates anger, animosity, pain. You know? We were talking about servants and people living downtown and how, you know, in other parts of the world, they have people who get paid next to nothing, who work in people's homes, and they refer to them as servants, right? But here in America, we don't have servants. We have people that make minimum wage. And so we feel better about ourselves because we don't have servants. We're a progressive nation, right? But the viejita that cleans all the rooms in that high-rise condo building because all the owners, you know, they all use this lady because she's the cheapest and she's the best and she cleans all these places, and they feel good about themselves because they're giving her a way of life, a way to make a living. And every time you go in the doorman, it's always a black dude, right? But they live and they feel like, oh, because they say hi to him every day and they treat him nicely, that they're not bad people. And they're not bad people. But ignorance is part of the problem. Living in your bubble of wealth and affluence and having a fucking running track and a swimming pool and a gym and a bowling alley and all this other shit in one fucking building that you live in and you never leave from. You don't go more than 3 miles from that motherfucker. You're part of the problem. You don't understand your privilege. You don't understand how powerful you are. And if you would just understand that in conjunction with the others around you in that space, we could legitimately fix all of these problems. But because you don't go 10 minutes south of where you live, you don't see how people are living down there. You just see that person when they come to work at your building, that person who in any other country would be considered a servant. So I implore you all to understand your privilege. Even I have privilege. Even coming from my father being a Palestinian refugee who made it to America, and my mother being a Tejana from, you know, not like didn't come from money in Texas, you know, I now have a privilege that I've created for myself and some that I haven't created for myself. There's some privileges that I was born into, and there was some that I've now created for myself because I've worked so fucking hard to get here. And that's why I'm doing this thing. That's why I'm talking to you. I'm in a room by myself talking to a camera, hoping that it falls in the right people's ears. I can't change the world by giving every homeless person $1. But I might be able to change the world a little bit by talking to people and like changing the mindsets of like hopefully many. So I would ask that you do the same. Understand your privilege. Understand how powerful you are. And fucking vote. Like that's one of the biggest things. Vote. Vote. Figure out who the down ballot candidates are. That matters the most. Figure out the policies that these people want to enact. And then vote for them. And then make sure that they do that. And if they don't do that, then we figure out who we can vote to put in there to actually fix the shit. because nothing is working right now and everybody is working for themselves. And I'm not saying you can't be for you and your family. I get that. But we have to be less tribal and we have to be more like social, like, dare I say, so I'm not even gonna say it. You know what I mean? We need to start taking care of each other, right? Especially right now, COVID, all this stuff. I hope that this basically unveiled a lot of the shortfalls and shortcomings of the society that we live in now, in our government structure, in our laws, and just even the way we talk to each other. Like, I live here in Chicago. In Texas, everyone says hi to you. There's the same racist shit and inequity, income inequality, and there's the same, all the fucking problems here are the same problems in San Antonio too. There's just like one small difference. Everyone says hi to each other. And I think like that's one of the simplest things that we can do to start mending these fences and start bringing people together. So that's the privilege part. And then that goes into the other thing that I wanted to talk about is, I don't know if this is biblical or not. The first person I can remember hearing say this is my Uncle Freddie. And it's literally, the more you give, the more you receive. And I say I don't know if it's biblical or not because I'm not a Bible person. It's not for me. But it's totally cool. Like, that is for you. That's your jam. But I believe in that. And I've realized in the past couple of years, the more that I have given, the more that I have received back. It's just an energy. It's like a vibe. I can't explain it, nor do I have the desire to explain it. But I've been able to kind of slowly build what I'm trying to build by giving a lot. And I'll be honest with you, especially because I started my business and I'm learning, man, the business world is fucking awful. It's awful. It's all about money. It has nothing to do with anything other than money. Right? And so it's really hard. It's really hard for me because I'm driven by more than just money. Yes, I want to make money. Yes, I have shit I need to pay for. Yes, I have shit that I would like to get. But it's not all about money for me. Money is not the motive, because one of the last things that, well, because you can't take it with you when you die. So what's the point of getting all this shit? What's the point of burning your life out trying to get all this money and you can't even take it with you when you die? Because you want to buy a Lambo? You can rent a fucking Lambo. Do you know what it's like to own a Lambo? It's ridiculous. You don't need that. But if you want, that's your jam. But don't kill yourself trying to get enough money to buy a Lambo knowing that you can rent one and drive it for a weekend, because that's all you really want to do. No one daily drives a Lambo. Maybe like, I don't know, 100 people in the world daily drive a Lambo. And you know what? Let them. The reality is, the odds are you're not going to probably make enough money to get a Lambo and drive it every day. There's only so much like going around, and there's only, and again, if you want to change it to where people can start driving Lambos, then you need to start voting for people that are going to change the way we get paid. But you can't have both. So the more you give, the more you receive, right? Whether it's time, energy, love, friendship, admiration, respect, power, just the more you give, the more you receive. But mainly about like sharing. It's a sharing thing, right? If I have some, that means you have some too. And ideally, when I don't have some and you have some, you're going to give me some. You're going to share. So give a little more than you take. And what I've learned is that the more that I've given, the more I've received back. And I think when everyone in this world is looking for investments, that's the best investment you can make. That returns are going to be like 10x, 100x, 1000x. So again, you can't take any of this shit with you when you die. So please don't work so hard for things you can't keep. Have a great time. Have a great time with your life, man. Shit's crazy. The shit is a wild ride. This is the wildest ride ever. And none of us asked to be here. I didn't ask to, I definitely did not get a call. I was not phoned into the womb and asked, hey, Derek, are you sure? I just fucking thrust upon this world that I didn't create. Right? I think Pac said I was given this world, I didn't make it. That shit, I get it. But we're here now, right? So I understand the desire to get as much as you can so you can have such a good time while you're here. And I'm not telling you not to do that. But what I've seen in my 35 years is that everyone is hurting because of that mentality. I shouldn't say everyone. There's a lot of people hurting because of that mentality. Because they're trying so hard to get things that the system was designed to not let them get. But the system is designed to put a carrot in front of you, and you're a horse. So we either change the system so that we can actually get to those damn carrots, or you change your behavior until the system changes. And so I personally had to change my behavior. Man, I had 22-inch rims on a fucking Volvo SUV when I was like 24. Why? I don't know. I had a great time. I did. It was cool. I love that truck. But it was a waste of money. When I think about now what I could have done with the money that I put into those things at that age, what I could have now, how much more of a foundation I could have built for myself that I could be standing on right now had I made different choices when I was younger. And and again, it took me a while to learn these things, and that's why I want to share it with everyone now. That idea that I can't take any of this with me when I die is what fuels me to not get shit. I don't have fancy furniture set. Because what happens in a few years, you just have to go get another one, right? And I'm not saying not to get furniture, but you don't have to get the $7,000 set that you put on credit, and then you end up paying $8,500 for it with interest. I have 2 cars. Collectively, those 2 cars are maybe worth $6,000. I can go get a car payment if I wanted to, but it would be foolish for me to do that. To put money into a depreciating asset. Something I wouldn't even call an asset. I would call it a liability because it just depreciates. But we continue to do that. And I continue to see people around me do that. And I understand the mentality of, well, I want nice things and I want a nice car and I use it every day. What you want and what you need are always going to be 2 different things. And my best advice for you, what I've learned in my 35 years, is I can't take it with me when I die. So make a better decision about it right now. I don't have to have this thing. I may want this thing. And then I figure out what that balance is. What's that happy medium? If you do a little more research, you'll probably find exactly what you want at a lower price or a lower emotional toll. Sometimes we invest a lot of our emotion and our time into things that we want, but we don't need. And so they're no good for us. And so we have to cut ties. And we have to figure it out and figure out a better place to put our energy into, right? So the last thing I want to talk about is this idea for me that enormous amounts of stress requires enormous amounts of release. The world is just being alive has got to be the most stressful thing ever. And you know what? Yeah. Being alive is the most stressful thing ever. It's like it's this vicious cycle of sun up, sun down, wake up, go to bed, if you can sleep, go to work, or work at something, get paid, spend it on shit, bills come. It's just this fucking cycle, right? And then there's little spurts of like happiness in between, And so what I've realized to maximize the pleasure and minimize the pain is enormous amounts of stress requires enormous amounts of release. Fucking party. Party like your life depends on it, because it does. And everybody's got a party. Everybody has a party. Got a party. Not everybody got a party. Everybody has a party. So whatever your party is, do that. and do it as much as you work. You have to balance those things out because you'll kill yourself with that stress. People, I appreciate people who card me at bars, and not because they think I'm under, or not because they have to, but no, I appreciate when people say you don't look your age. And the only thing that I can think of that I've done in my life that has kept me looking, I guess, relatively young is I eradicate stress at all costs. Everything that stresses me out, if it's not something that I'm being forced to endure, like work or something, you know. But even with work, man, that's part of why I left the military. It was fucking killing me. My hair was falling out. I couldn't do that anymore. It was stressing me out. Certain relationships that I've, friend or otherwise that I've been in, stress, you gotta go. I gotta go. I can't be a part of this. It'll fuck me up. And there's no amount of partying that's gonna match that. But for the things that we do have to endure, right? For the things that we can't, separate ourselves from, you gotta party that shit away, man. And you gotta figure out what it is. And it doesn't have to be alcohol. It doesn't have to be drugs, right? But it's gotta be something. You gotta figure out what that is. Enormous amounts of stress requires enormous amounts of release. So make sure you're releasing, okay? Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Stress will kill you. Stress will just tear your body up, tear your mind up, break down relationships around you, just create a whole host of problems. So yeah, I really implore you to figure out what it is that you really like to do that really makes you happy and really makes you feel at ease and really makes you feel comfortable, and just fucking keep punching that and just keep doing it. So yeah, that's a few quick things that I just wanted to talk about today. So again, thank you everyone for all the birthday wishes. I hope this wasn't weird for you. I probably won't ever do this again, like in this capacity. I do want to stick with the news and stuff. I want to cover all these issues, but again, I wanted to do this today. For me, it's a day of reflection. So I definitely wanted to share with everyone what I was thinking and feeling. And this is a very short list of all the shit that's in my head. So maybe I'll do something again in the future that's a little more, not scripted, but a little more planned and have better talking points. But yeah, so I'm about to go, release. I'm hoping to go and eat a lot of steak for my birthday. And shout out to the cows that gave their life. I do not take that lightly. I may not be a vegetarian for the reasons that a lot of vegetarians are vegetarians. But I give a shit about the animals. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for sharing your time with me. And as always, on the DA perspective, I may not always be correct, but at least I started the conversation. So thank you everyone.
Falling for my urges. She